Sabrimala Temple issues. The Supreme Court has referred the matter to a constitutional bench, pretty much on expected lines. The case has been referred to a constitutional bench, a wider bench. In all probability, 5 judges will now be looking at this case on right to pray. The case has been referred to a larger bench to discuss the 2 very crucial articles in this particular case regarding Article 26 as well as Article 25. And the Supreme Court has referred the matter to a larger bench to look into this. Now, this under the provisions of Article 145.3, under which the minimum number of judges required for answering a reference is actually 5. Let's go across to my colleague Abhimanyu joining us with further details. Abhimanyu, the Supreme Court has referred this matter of entry of women to Sabrimala Temple to a constitution bench. Is it going to be a member of 5 who will be looking at this particular case?
Well, it is probable that the 5-judge bench would hear this, although it remains to be seen how many judges would constitute the bench. As and when it is constituted, of course, the details of the order are yet to come out. But something, of course, which highlighted in course of the hearing post which now this matter has gone to the Constitution bench. There was, of course, a basic tussle as far as the right to equality and right to practice religion was concerned. On one hand, the Devaswam board, the Sabrimala Temple board, of course, was of the view that women were allowed to visit another temple which was meant for women, and men were supposed to visit the Sabrimala Temple. Thereby, they claimed that there was a principle of equality which was inherent to religion. On the other hand, women worshippers who wanted to enter the Sabrimala Temple and worship out there were saying that this was an assault on their right to equality and went against the very grain of the Constitution. So now, of course, it would be the Constitution bench which would eventually decide over what exactly, how exactly is this interpreted as right to equality. If at all, 2 temples are constructed in which one is meant for women and one is meant for men to worship. Now, is that a gender discrimination or a gender differentiation? That is something, of course, which is decided. Apart from that, there are several other references which were submitted by the petitioners in this case, that is the women who are seeking entry inside the temple. They had given references to age-old practices which were initially considered a part of culture and religion, but subsequently were abolished, which also included...
Abhimanyu, one moment. Abhimanyu, one moment. The fact that the Supreme Court has referred this matter to a larger bench, a constitutional bench, one would imagine this is being done on the series of petitions that were raised, keeping in mind Articles 26, Article 25 that guarantees freedom of free practice of religion, etc. Keeping these particular issues in mind, perhaps the Supreme Court has given this to a constitution bench.
Well, exactly, and also about the right to equality for that matter, apart from the right to justice and right to practice religion, because one right, of course, cannot override or overrule another right which is available under the same constitution. So that's something, right, of course, left to the Constitution bench to decide now that on the basis of what...
But would this mean that there is further hope for all the petitioners and the NGOs in the matter? I'll just come back to you, Abhimanyu. Stay with us. Let me also bring in our colleague Rixon joining us live. He has with him Rahul Ishwar of the Sabrimala Temple. Rixon, what's the first reaction coming in from Rahul Ishwar, where the Supreme Court has referred the matter to a constitutional bench under Article 145.3?
Rahul ji, the Supreme Court has referred to the Constitutional bench. We welcome the move. We have been arguing. Travancore Devaswam Board under Prayar Gopalakrishnan sir and our Ayyappa Dharmasena has been strongly arguing this should be referred to a higher bench. We welcome the move. Ayyappa Dharmasena will also be contacting Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana governments for the support in Constitutional bench case, because millions of devotees from those places are also coming to Sabrimala. We welcome this move to send it to Constitutional bench. It was on our appeal and request that it was sent to a higher bench.
Yeah, for the last many years, demand was coming from the side of the young women and also from different sections of the society. Are you welcoming the decision taken by the Supreme Court?
We welcome, because we will have much more space in pointing out that we were right in this, and this case can be fought on the parameters of constitutionality and cultural framework. We welcome this move because this has been on our request. It was sent to a higher bench.
Rixon, can you ask him, does this not also mean hope for the women and the NGOs and the petitioners, because now the interpretation would be on Article 26 and Article 25?
There is no discrimination but only differentiation. We have pointed this out.
Can you
Hello.
Okay, Rickson, I was asking this very pertinent question. The fact that the matter has been referred to a constitutional bench, you see there are those who have been arguing Article 26 gives them the right to religious denomination, Article 25 the guarantee of freedom of conscience and free profession, practice of any religion. So all the people who have been petitioning for be able to allowed to enter Sabrimala Temple today will also be jubilated with the fact that a constitutional bench is actually looking at this matter because there are these articles they have been fighting for. Rickson.
Yeah, at this point of time, Rahul says that he welcomes the decision taken by the Supreme Court to refer this case to the constitutional bench, that he and also the Devasam Board President, they are given this petition that what he said to the News 6 that now, and he says that he welcomed the decision taken by the Supreme Court.
Right, stay with us, Rickson. I'll come back to you when you have Rahul Ishwar with you on this. But Abhimanyu, what does this really mean for those who have been seeking to get relief from the Supreme Court in this regard? Does this actually mean further hope for all those petitioners? Okay, we'll connect with Abhimanyu in a bit, but if I can put that question across to my colleague. All right, I'll come back to you as well, Rickson. There is some more news that's breaking this minute, which Supreme Court has now referred the matter to a constitutional bench on whether or not women aged between 10 to 50 should be allowed inside the Sabrimala Temple. The case has been referred to a larger bench under Article 145.3, which means that there could be a bench of at least minimum number of 5 judges who will be looking at this particular matter. The matter had been listed for judgment in the court in the front of Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra along with Justice Bhanumati as well as Ashok Bhushan today, and now they have referred the matter to a larger constitutional bench. This is in regards with, of course, tradition versus a right to pray, whether or not women have equal rights to offer their prayers in Sabrimala Temple. And looking at the developments in the past few years, we've seen how, be it the case of Haji Ali or Shani Shignapur Temple in Maharashtra, where women have been given access to go to the inner sanctorum of these temples to be able to pray. It does indicate that there is a trend of progressive way of looking at the right to pray. But let's go across to my colleague Rickson joining us with further details. Rickson, what do you think this means for those who are petitioning for entry in Sabrimala Temple as well? Is this a ray of hope? Rickson, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
The question I was asking you is, Rickson, those who had petitioned for entry into the Sabrimala Temple, especially NGOs and women activists, would this mean a ray of hope for them for a larger bench will be now looking at their pleas?
Actually, yeah, absolutely. This decision that referred to a constitutional bench really gives a hope to the large number of people. That, as you know, that the last many years they are raising this issue for the entry of a young woman to Sabrimala, and this reference that just before the Supreme Court has referred this case to the constitutional bench, a large bench, that really, absolutely, this gives a real hope to the many of them young women in Kerala.
All right, stay with me, Rickson. Let me also bring in Tripti Desai, activist, joining us over the phone line. Tripti Desai, in this case, we understand that the current bench has referred this case to a constitutional bench now, which would mean a larger bench will look at this case of entry of women into Sabrimala Temple. What does this mean for all those who have been petitioning for entry?
ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेंच को जो है वो ये निर्णय सौंपा है, तो हम इसका स्वागत करते हैं, क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेंच को ये दिया है, यही हमारी बहुत बड़ी जीत है। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने दिया हुआ समानता का अधिकार है, वो सबरीमाला मंदिर में हमसे छीना जा रहा था। वहां पे पुरुषों को अलाउड किया जा रहा था, महिलाओं को जो है वो अलाउड नहीं किया जा रहा था। मेंस्ट्रुअल पीरियड अपवित्र मानकर जो है वो महिलाओं के ऊपर ये अन्याय बहुत सालों से हो रहा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ी हमें जीत इसकी शुरुआत लग रही है और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बेंच जो है वो बिल्कुल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल को लेकर और फंडामेंटल राइट्स को लेके हमारे महिलाओं को जो एक पाबंदी है वो जल्द से जल्द उठाएगी और वहां पे सबरीमाला में महिलाओं को दर्शन का अधिकार मिलेगा.
Okay, so you are very hopeful that the women shall be granted entry between the age of 10 to 50 after this matter has been referred to a larger constitutional bench that strictly decide. Women rights activists speaking to us. We'll take a short break.